All right, I think I'm just about ready to get started now. So yeah, once again, I'm back on here. Sorry, I'm just still getting some things worked out. But yeah, if anybody had seen, I made a post about it as to why I'm decided to do this again. The American Experiment is back. The political podcast that originally I was going to do, but decided against it because with how things have been going, especially with Russia Ukraine, it kind of just burned me out. So at the time, I decided, hey, I'm gonna just put it on a back burner for a while. Maybe I'll revisit it in the future. But I also there was a reason for me also doing this again, and it'll go into sort of the topics that I'll be in tonight. And those topics will be about Russia and Ukraine, what's been going on over there, the actions that have been taken, and what might actually happen next. And the other part is kind of looking at China's COVID response, because based on some of the videos out there, it's really telling, and it's honestly it makes me uncomfortable. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right into it. into it. Where's the All right, so I'm gonna show you this video. I'm showing you is kind of the reason why I ultimately decided to come back, because originally I wasn't sure if I was going to do this again because I was hesitant because of how, uh, just how these tech companies have been cracking down on misinformation, which I have no problem with. But it's even to a point, but it was to a point where even this news network, I don't know if how many of you have heard of Y on World is One News, their entire YouTube channel got taken down after just airing uh, after all they did was just air their grievances with I mean, not air any grievances. All they did was just show what I guess their Russian foreign minister was saying about what they were going to do, what their plans were, and what their goals are. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and play this real quick, and I'm gonna let you guys just take a look and really just kind of understand where I'm coming from when I say why I was so hesitant to come back and do this. Journalists are like historians, they say. We chronicle all kinds of battles, elections, wars, protests, everything. Oh, keep in mind, this was after they got, after their channel had got reinstated, after they had a social media campaign that was extremely effective and it worked very, very well. So with that being said, I'm gonna look for that other video. I'm gonna let you guys watch this one, kind of just to provide a little extra context. Everything is a battle. And we as journalists are independent historians, you could say, involved, yet unbiased. But last Friday, we too entered the battlefield, not for us, but for you, the audience. We decided to take on the biggest video platform in the world, YouTube. Journey knew how powerful they are, how much influence they have, but this fight was worth fighting because this fight was for you. Your right to information, your right to unbiased journalism. If you missed the story, I'll give you a quick recap. Earlier this month, WION had broadcast the Russian foreign minister's speech. YouTube objected to that. They said we were minimizing or denying the war in Ukraine. Fun fact, the same speech was carried by Western channels as well. Reuters, France 24, CNN, the whole gang. None of them were banned. But WION got blocked for 7 days. On Friday, and I think right here, this is somewhat important because there is, and I think she rightly points this out, and I'm gonna get to her in a minute. That's Palki Sharma. She's the host of Gravitas News of Gravitas over in WION in New Delhi. But she highlights a very important point here, as there is a hypocrisy here. If if Western media is showing exactly the same thing, and then you have these smaller channels that do the same thing but may not hold the same mainstream view. They may have opposing views, whether that may be to the left or the right. They're entitled to their views. It's their right, free speech and all. But they went ahead and took down WION, which is pretty big in India, which makes no sense, and it does highlight, like she said, a bit of a hypocrisy between the West and the East, where you can have the mainstream media in the West get it completely wrong and that they face no accountability for it. But where you have other channels that just report and say, hey, this is what it is, or maybe even give their own spin on it, whether from a left leaning perspective or otherwise, they're the ones that get taken down. Does it now? Now I don't know if anybody else has thought about this, but I think there. I would say that there is a pretty coordinated effort between, not just with YouTube, but with advertisers and also other corporate America as well. Mainly the mainstream news media like CNN, Fox, MSNBC, One American News, Newsmax, CNBC, yada yada yada. They have a vested interest in keeping what they have so far, and the biggest reason for that is because a lot of people have went ahead and turned to more independent news sources because the mainstream news sources aren't providing the actual information that people need to know. My thing is, how are you gonna complain and probably, I don't know if somebody complained or if whatever, somebody within the, somebody probably, somebody from one of these media companies probably reached out to someone in the government who reached out to YouTube. I mean, we all know that, we all know about now that corporations run our government. So I mean, there wouldn't be any surprise there if that was the case. What I'm saying is, you can't, one, they can't have this both ways. And if there's a reason that they're not watching your news, it's because your coverage sucks. Your coverage doesn't provide anything of genuine substance and value. Some of it does, because there are people who do genuinely a good job, in certain, in certain articles and in certain places, New York Times, Washington Post, other play, and like Wyon is one. And then you have more of the independent circuits, such as Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar. If anybody knows who they are, they were the former hosts of Rising, and then they decided to go, and then they went independent. And you have Kyle Kalinske. He has his own podcast. He does Crystal Kyle and Friends. You got who else is there? Sam Sater with the Majority Report. You got Jimmy Dore's show with Jimmy Dore. You got Vosh. He's another lefty YouTuber. Hassan, I think Destiny. There's a number of quite a few lefty YouTubers out there. The Vanguard is another one. They're a lefty YouTube channel. The Humanist Report, National, with David Dole, I think. Mike, I can't remember. I'm sorry, Mike. I can't remember your last name, but he does the Humanist Report as well. I can't remember how to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry, man. But yeah, a lot of people now have decided to flock to these indie media circuits, because they do a far better job of bringing people what's actually going on than the mainstream news does. The mainstream news only really cares about who's winning who and who's on the winning side and whatever, corporate America wants. Like anytime, like now there's a war going on, so now we're seeing efforts of, trying to manufacture consent from the public to support getting directly involved in Ukraine, which which honestly looks like a bad idea, because, Russian president and guy who's probably looking like he's going to be put out the pasture soon because he threatened to use nukes, Vladimir Putin. I don't see his reign lasting too much longer. Like, he kind of crossed the line that it's not going to happen. All right, but I'm kind of veering off a little bit here, but let me go ahead and finish playing this video and understand why I'm coming back.
Friday, we decided to fight back. We launched a social media campaign, #YouTube Unblock WION. The response, I have to say, was overwhelming. I've got the data here with me. On Facebook, more than 120,000 views, more than 221,000 impressions. On Instagram, more than 122,000 views. On Twitter, more than 724,000 impressions, more than 221,000 views, a total reach of 6.2 million. And guess what? It worked. YouTube has backed down. Within 12 hours, WION's YouTube channel was reinstated. For this, I want to congratulate and thank all of you. We may have sounded the bugle, but you fought this battle. At one point, the hashtag was trending at #1. All your tweets, all the outrage, Silicon Valley heard all of it. We are now uploading again on YouTube. You can watch our latest content there. Having said that, our mission is far from over. Yes, the channel was unblocked. Yes, we are uploading again. But where is the accountability? Nobody from YouTube wrote back to us. Nobody apologized for their mistake. It was literally a surprise for us. Our team woke up on Saturday and voila, the account was back online. Is this how a multi-billion-dollar platform functions? They clearly saw the campaign and they decided to back down, but no accountability. YouTube did not inform us about their decision to unblock WION, neither did they explain what happened. This lack of clarity is extremely problematic. No explanation for blocking, no explanation for unblocking. And this is the same YouTube that wants to be a platform, editor, and censor all at the same time. So much for ethics. For us, this campaign confirms two things. Number one, a public approval for our brand of journalism. Right from the start, we have been clear on this. Every side must be heard. You may not like what you hear. You may disagree with it. But as journalists, our job is to inform you, present all facts, and let you make the decision. We'll continue doing that. If Sergei Lavrov makes another speech or if Vladimir Putin gives a statement, we will broadcast it on WION because that is our editorial call, not YouTube's. Which brings us to point number two. The public anger against big tech. There is no denying how powerful they are. If big tech blocked us, they also helped us get unblocked. But as I say, with great power comes great responsibility. We saw that sentiment in your tweets. You don't want to be programmed. You don't want to hear adulterated news. You want both sides of the story to decide for yourself. And in that sense, this is a larger campaign, a much larger campaign. It goes way beyond our channel. It takes on the systemic problems with big tech. And what are those problems? For starters, their Western bias. Why did Reuters or CNN get a free pass? Why was a channel from India singled out? No answer. Secondly, who made big tech editors? You don't see journalists writing software. You don't see reporters designing websites. So why is big tech filtering news? Why are there people pretending to be editors? Again, no answers. This could be the start of something bigger, we say. But for that, we need a broad alliance. You, the audience, journalists, governments, everyone needs to be on the same page. Perhaps then big tech will change. But for now, let me thank you all again. Without your engagement, without your support, this campaign would not have been possible. Your faith is our best reward. And to repay that faith, let me say this again. We will continue to tell both sides of the story. We will not filter news. We will not censor speeches. And we will not pick sides. WION is now available in your...
And yeah, that's honestly just how this entire thing unfolded. Like if I were to go on Twitter, let's say if I were to go on Twitter right now, hold on. I'm going to search that real quick. To unblock WION. And honestly, just when I had first heard this had happened, and I think I had caught it maybe just after their channel had got reinstated, it was one of the wildest things that I had ever. It was one of the wildest things that I had ever seen, because YouTube went out of their way to block a major news channel. A major news channel. They're not based out of here in the West. They're based out of India. And honestly, in my opinion, they have way better coverage of what's going on than probably any other outside of maybe some of the independent YouTube independent YouTube political figures. They're probably one of the best, if not the best in one of the best news stations in the world. I learned about things that was going on in other countries that I had no knowledge of what was going on, and it kind of helped provide a different perspective comparative to whatever the mainstream media is telling us, or and whatever the people behind it want us to hear. So honestly, I gave a lot of credit to WION News and how they handle this, because it pretty much shows that big tech isn't as invincible as they probably think they are. Elon Musk included. Come on, does anybody really think that man is actually going to get Twitter? And does anybody really think if he does buy Twitter, is he actually going to do what he says he's going to do with it? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, his track record with his own business is a little sketchy. So, I don't know if the same thing would be said about Twitter. He says he wants to push for that, but ultimately, if he gets that far and he does buy Twitter, he's going to have to put his money where his mouth is. I want to see it. I'm willing to give him the shot if he really wants, but if he really wants to do that, he's going to have to put his money where his mouth is. Well, what's the saying? Don't write checks your ass can't catch. And he's a billionaire. even in the amount of money he got to be careful. But yes, anyway, where was I at? Like, let me see if I can find some older posts, because when this first started, I think was, I don't know, this started, how long ago? Oh yeah, there was another video about that. Hold on, let me find it. Whoops. I think it was this one. Let me find it. Because I think they just went straight into it. Oh, let me find it. Oh yeah, because they got raked over the coals hard. Oh yeah, YouTube got raked over the coals hard for this. Oh yeah, 12 hours. It only took 12 hours for them to come back. But yeah, I think what I'll do is, for the sake of, staying on topic, I'll leave links in for the two videos. I'll leave the links in I can't talk right now. I'll leave the links of the two videos in the description after I'm done with the live stream. I'll make sure to keep them off to the side so that way I know where exactly they are. So we'll put that over here. But yeah, honestly, this woman, Palki Sharma Opade, is probably the reason that I decided to do this again. Honestly, she's a freaking badass in journalism. Simply put, I don't know how else to really say it. She does a great job. Honestly, I honestly could encourage people to go follow her on Twitter and definitely watch Gravitas on YouTube when the videos come up. Because again, they're based in India, so their time zone is wildly different from ours. I think it's almost like 12 hours. I think it's almost a 12-hour difference, at least from where I am, Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on because I wanted to get back into talking about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now as it stands. And the latest thing that I had heard was Russia is now turning all of their attention now to Eastern Ukraine around the regions of, I think, Luhansk and Donetsk, or Donbass, and I think they were trying to take over excuse me, Mariupol, which is one of Ukrainians' major seaports. So if needless to say, if Russia was to able to take Mariupol, Ukraine is in trouble because that's where a lot of their that's where they do a lot of trade out of. I don't know if they have any other ports on the Black Sea. I'd hope they do so that they can get what they need in order to defend themselves. But if that's not, I don't see that as a very good thing. But kind of going back to the beginning of how this whole thing unfolded, Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, said that this whole thing is a special military operation, when it's pretty clear that after what has been done, at least all the way up till today, that's total bullshit. If it was genuinely about NATO expansion, I honestly doubt he would have never invaded. I honestly doubt he would never invaded, but he did. And as a result, he also is threatening to use nuclear weapons, which honestly is a red line which is honestly crosses a red line for me, and I would imagine a whole lot of other people. And maybe this is a little authoritarian for me to say, but if you, as a world leader, threaten to use nuclear weapons against another nation for any reason, even for self-defense, I'm sorry, you should not be in office. You should not have any power whatsoever, because you're kind of a wild card, and a nuclear war would pretty much be the end of the freaking world. So needless to say, but you know what? Needless to say, and again, this might make me sound a little bit authoritarian and maybe a little bit imperialist, but Vladimir Putin, he's got to go. He can't stay in office, not after this. Honestly, this entire thing, with trying to take over Eastern Ukraine, with the Russian, with Donetsk and Luhansk, I honestly, this whole thing feels like a bit of a save a face, because I don't know how much of the Russian people really know about what's going on, because Vladimir Putin has such a tight grip on the media in there that he can put out pretty much whatever he wants, and the Russian people have no idea what's actually going on in Ukraine. And I think if they really knew what he had threatened to do and what was actually going on in Ukraine, the Russian people would probably revolt against him. And no amount of arrests or anything like that are gonna work. Because it doesn't, because when the people want you gone and you've kind of done something to a point where you're too dangerous to even, to be around or maintain power, yeah, you're gonna overthrow you. It doesn't matter if they do an election. If they want to bad enough, they will come after you. And that's not just Russia. That'll be any government around the world. Need to take care of your citizens, and they won't come after you. But in this case, I think, honestly, I think his fate's sealed. I don't know how much. I think Vladimir Putin's on borrowed time, because honestly, I don't see this going very well for him in the long run. Like, it's already kind of gone badly because of all the logistical problems they've had. And now, Google did something pretty interesting, which kind of caught me, which I thought was really nice. Google Maps reveals Russian bases. They revealed. Oh, of course they're denying it now. And made claims that, okay, so that's a different one. Visible on Google Maps, and they appear to show allegedly, their actual military bases on Google Maps. And I actually checked this out, and I did find one. I need to go look. I have to go look for it again. I'm gonna pull this up real quick because I thought this was pretty interesting. I don't know if that information is true, but I thought it was worth looking into, just as just to say, hey, let's verify this. Let's see if there's any truth to this. And I think the ones that I had seen were way over here somewhere. They were over here. Donetsk, Luhansk. This is the Baltic Sea. Where the hell was that first one? It's around here somewhere. Because I know I saw it. And Murmansk. Okay, yep. Let me see. Where was it? Murmansk. Let me look. I think it was this. It was up here somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where they are, but I don't know where. I gotta remember where that is. I have to find it. I know for a fact it exists. I know for a fact they're on here. I have to find them. And I was looking at them the other day, so it's like, what the hell? Why can't I find them? Now that's Crimea. Where? You know what? I'll look for it later. I ain't gonna worry about it right now because I'm wasting time. I'm wasting too much time. I will look for it later. But yeah, this is also something I don't know how accurate or how true this is. For all we know, it could be completely false. We could be looking at something that's, being pushed that could be intentionally made to throw people off. So I would say take a look at it and just scrutinize it a little. Scrutinize it to make sure that whatever is actually coming out is actually what's being said is coming out. Make sure it's truth. Truth but verify. I think you know what I'm going with there. But yeah, he's pushed forward with going out trying to take Luhansk and Donetsk, which is a predominantly Russian speaking area, from my understanding. And I think there was another part of this as to how there was a separatist group that was formed over there, and there's kind of a bit of a rabbit hole going down into that, and I think I'll do that in another live stream. But right now, I kind of just wanted to focus on what's going on between Russia and Ukraine because, excuse me, based on some of just the information that's come out, not just from what Russia, not just from what the United States has put out in their media, but from what Russia has also put out, and some of the actions that have been taken have honestly given me some kind of pause. Like, for one, there is a neo-Nazi group in Ukraine. They're called the Azov Battalion. So yeah, they are a neo. They were formed in 2014, and where, yeah, they're a neo-Nazi unit of the National Guard in Ukraine, based in Mariupol. So they're a part of that, and and I can understand arming the Ukrainian military and making sure to say they can defend themselves and defend their land and their country and their people. What I can't understand is why, not so much understand, and why are we arming neo Nazis? Not saying that every single person in the Ukrainian military is a neo Nazi. That's bullshit. That's obviously not true. What I'm saying is we should arm Ukraine. I mean, what I'm saying is if Ukraine is requesting arms and there are countries that are willing to give them arms so that they can defend themselves, that's their entitled. Then by all means, they should be entitled to that. However, I would honestly prefer us not arming neo-Nazis, even though they may be fighting against an adversary of the United States. Like, I can understand the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but at the end of the day, once the conflict is over, they're still an enemy. And there's going to be, and once this is all over, if Ukraine comes out on top of this, and I think they might, there's going to be some questions that are going to need to be asked. Because you accepted help from the neo-Nazis, they're going to want something in return for their services. And honestly, what causes Zelensky to be careful about this and to really think about what he's gonna do going forward, because I do not see this, like, at the end of this day, he's gonna have to come to that decision, and gonna have to, and that's gonna a lot of questions that's gonna be asked around that, and he's really gonna have to answer that for that. I don't know what he plans on. I've been following kind of loosely. I've been doing my best. No, that's different. Leader of neo-Nazi Adolf Hitler reportedly killed in Ukraine. Let me see if I can. People's World. I've never heard of this one. Is there any way I can... Has any other news organization reported on this? I'm gonna look into that one later. But yeah, this is who the Azov Battalion. So this is where... Let me look. So this is right about here. Ideology. So yeah, they've been described as a far-right militia with connections to neo-Nazism and members wearing neo-Nazi and SS symbols and regalia. I mean, you really look, I mean, if you honestly look at the symbol, yeah. I mean, it kind of looks like a swastika, though it looks more like a sideways Z with a line through it. Or an N with a line through it. But context does matter. And I mean, if they are neo-Nazis and they are far-right and their actions and their words are showing it, then yeah, you kind of are. You can't deny that, like, some American groups try to do. Like, you can't, like, honestly, your actions are going to give you away. At the end of the day, you can't hide it. But this is something I would put pause on. Like, if the United States, if Ukraine needs arms and they need to defend themselves, and the United States wants to send them arms, fine, that's fine. However, I would be more cautious about who you're arming about who you're arming, because at the end of, we don't want that coming back on ourselves. And like, I don't want to see, what this unity between the Ukrainian military and the neo-Nazi battalion go in a pretty bad direction. Like, that's honestly a little bit scary. And I don't want to see them do that. Let's see. I've been talking for about a half an hour. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a little bit of a break, and we'll come back in about 15 minutes. And then I think what I'll do is, I think I'll go ahead. I don't have a whole lot more to add as far as on the Ukraine and Russia right now. I think for the time being, I'm gonna just take a quick break and, take a load off, go to the bathroom, do whatever you got to do. All right, be right back. All right, we are back. And also, I just kind of want to say that even though I know I set the stream to last about 3 hours, I'm gonna cut it off at about 7:30 because honestly, I think that's a little bit too long. And considering this is probably my second live stream in a very, very long time, I'm still very rusty. So I need time to like, kind of get myself back together. So, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not gonna worry about that today. Again, I'll be done at South in the stream around 7:30. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is what the heck has been going on with China and their crazy zero COVID policies, which have not gone over well with a lot of the population. And I'm gonna bring that up. I'm gonna pull up a couple videos on YouTube here. I want to show you some things. All right, so this is also, that one's also from Wyon. Like, it has not gone well. Like, let me see. Because I know Kyle Kalinske did a really good video kind of talking about this. Let me find it. He has a video about this. I think he did a video about this. I'm not sure if he did. I don't know. I'll look again. But yeah, I want us to show kind of exactly what has gone on since, China had a COVID spike, and they have every intention on keeping their zero COVID policy, which their policy is shut everything down. No stores, no stores, no shopping, no, going to work. And it's honestly, they're taking it to a point where you can't even leave your apartment, or they're even dragging some people out of their apartments who might even be suspected of having COVID or have COVID, or don't have anything, but they're being dragged out anyway just to get tested. Again, you don't want the virus to spread, but what the hell are you doing? This is all this is going to do is just piss off your citizens. And since the Chinese Communist Party is really more about control, they can't put the blame on anybody else. This one is going to be on them. And if they're going to start wondering why their own citizens are turning against them, they should probably look into a mirror. Okay, with this policy, it's like they're looking for perfection in a world where it doesn't exist. They're never going to find it. But yeah, they revealed their intentions to keep their policy till the end of the year. End of the year. But some of the videos that have come out after all this had started, and I'm going to look for one. I'm going to play this. Just how that seems a little bit too cheerful even for me. Go away. I should disable that. And this is why I put Do Not Disturb on. Let me look. Because it has, there's been oh yeah, here it is. This one's also, oh yeah, here it is. This one's also from Wyon. The situation in Shanghai there were a lot of videos taken by Chinese citizens of exactly just how, angry some people are because they haven't been able to leave their apartment to go to work or go buy food or anything. People can't get out of their apartments and their homes. And essentially China has kind of turned Shanghai into its own urban prison, and people are gonna die over this. And there's a second video I'm gonna show you as well, because China, since from the beginning, China hasn't exactly been the most honest, and I think I'm kind of being generous with that. with that statement, they have not been very honest with how they've been handling with what they've, as far as COVID, the origins and whatnot. I'm sorry, I haven't eaten today. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna let you watch this. Take a look.
Going from bad to worse. It has been over 2 years since the world was first introduced to the COVID-19 pandemic. It started in China's Wuhan city and slowly spread to the rest of the world. During this time, we have seen a shift from the initial zero tolerance approach lockdowns to accepting a life with the virus, a gradual return to normalcy. But for the Chinese, the original center of the coronavirus, not much has changed in these months. Beijing is still continuing with its draconian COVID containment measures, a policy that is very evidently backfiring in its financial capital, Shanghai, triggering public anger, frustration, and distress.
Mhm. Yeah, I also probably should have warned you that what you're gonna see is honestly disturbing, distressing for some viewers. Just viewer discretion is advised and all that. And yeah, Wyon is framing this as far as, I guess, as far as China and India are concerned, there's some tension. There's some tension there as far as land dispute, land and territorial disputes, and I don't know the whole story behind it, but there's a dispute between India and China. So needless to say, they're not gonna be nearly as nice about this. Nice in their coverage to China is probably as maybe as some other areas.
Shanghai, the financial capital of China, has become the latest epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic for the Asian nation. In the last few weeks, nearly 25 million people of its residents have been put under complete lockdown. Businesses have been declared closed. There is a shortage in food, medicine, water, and essential supplies. And if the situation was not troubling enough, the authorities are now using force to make sure that people follow the extreme rules.
Yeah, like the way they're going about this, all this is doing is really the President Xi and the CCP are kind of doing this to themselves. They should have known, and they should have been smarter about this, because they know, because people are not going to put up with that. If you're going to force people out of their homes and try to force them to get tested, people are going to fight against you. Yeah, they're going to fight against you, and it's not going to be pretty. And that's what's happening now with the people in Shanghai.
Video on your screen is from the Pudong district. Dressed in hazmat suits, Chinese officials can be seen scuffling with the residents. A few seconds into video, you can see a man being dragged by the authorities, a woman crying, kneeling on the ground. Cries of letting the elderly be.
Yeah, let this be something of a reminder that if anybody else tries to tell you that communism can work, it can't. And this is one of them, because the way that the CCP is handling this, and because of their nature, they're trying to make things perfect. It's not going to happen. It's just not. Like, no one could really stop the spread of COVID. Tried to slow it, but you couldn't stop it. And what they're doing here, this is just making life miserable for their own damn citizens. Actually, I feel bad for them. Shouldn't have to go through that. And if China decides to really go through with this to the end of the year, because it's April, it's still early. It's still very technically early in the year. Probably by the end of this year, if China really keeps going down this path, I kind of see a massive uprising. It's coming, and the CCP will be the direct reason of it. It's just a matter of time, when and where.
The video was posted on Chinese social media. The user who put it said that the local government requisitioned several residential buildings in the city or in the county, which will now be turned into isolation centers as infection figures continue to climb. Another user said that at first, only empty residential complexes were used as isolation centers, but with they are emptying apartment buildings, like taking people out of their apartment buildings so they can use them as COVID isolation centers. How are you gonna come into my house
where I'm living and try to kick me out so you could put somebody else in there who's sick. Like, an apartment building is not a hospital. It's not. And another thing is, if China is if China if we have seen video if we're seeing videos like this taken by the people, the citizens of China, um I think I just jumped ahead. I don't know what I did there. It was a little bit past here.
Complexes
I think I was right about here. But yeah, let me keep going.
as isolation centers. But with spike in COVID cases, they are forcing people out of their rented apartments.
Yeah, they're forcing people out of their rented apartments so they can put sick people in there and isolate them. But like I said, apartment buildings are not hospitals. You need to be putting people who have COVID in hospitals. You're not kicking people out onto the street so you can commandeer their building. Stop looking for perfection in a world where it doesn't exist. You look ridiculous by doing so, and it's coming, and it's all of this is going to come back to bite you by the end of the year. It just is. You can't hide from it. You can't hide this. No matter how much censorship or suppression or whatever content moderation you do, you can't suppress this. And somebody will get, the news will get out there. It doesn't matter what you do. And I'm glad that this did, because it kind of gives a glimpse into the window of, if this is how the CCP operates, I would not want them as world leaders, and I sure as hell wouldn't want them as a government.
All of us here are residents who abide by the law. We are willing to do something for the country. You forbade us from gathering or to head out anywhere outside, and we have complied. But now you want to place infected patients with high transmissibility rates less than 20 meters away from some residential areas. What do you want us, the common folk, to do?
The next video that we will show you is from an isolation.
Yeah, like, honestly, what do they expect these people to do? Like, where are they supposed to go? You lock down the city, can't nobody go anywhere, can't buy any food, but you're going to kick citizens, uninfected citizens, out of their apartments and on the streets. One, you kind of running the risk of those people getting infected by taking them out and then taking people who are infected and putting them in the apartment buildings. Now, are you going to sanitize those complete apartments from top to bottom after you're done, commandeering their building and those people can go back home? Probably not. And they're going to have to go through that exact same thing again because of the Communist Party's incompetence in handling this whole thing. And that's not to knock to say that ours has not been better. It really hasn't. It's actually sucked, at least in the beginning. It's gotten better, but it has sucked. But this right here, this is going way too far.
Center, there are hundreds of people cramped into quarantine facilities. They are separated by less than an hour.
How is that? That's not quarantining anybody. You're putting a whole bunch of sick people in the same damn room, got COVID floating in the air everywhere. So how the hell are these people? How are they going to get better? How are they going to get better if they're not getting fresh air? They got to breathe the air that's in the room, and then that air is filled with people who breathe in stuff into it. No sense. It doesn't make any sense, does it? It really doesn't. It makes no sense whatsoever. And what the hell is China supposed to do? Are they just like all these people right here? What's gonna happen to them? Are they good? Hopefully I would hope they're getting proper medical treatment and they're all getting better. But to have everybody in a room like that, open air and everything, no ventilate, it doesn't look like there's any kind of ventilation. Maybe there is somewhere, but if there isn't any ventilation, this is just insanity. You're not going to defeat COVID this way by keeping a whole bunch of sick people in one room with no kind of, isolation in between them. There's nothing isolating about this. You got everybody in a freaking room like a sardine, like a bunch of sardines in a can.
Arm's length.
Or the 51 Carrick bus during rush hour.
For the last few days, Shanghai's COVID cases have floated around the 20,000 mark. This is no small number, and with China's strict COVID policy, every person is to be isolated in a state-run setup. There is no home isolation, and in view of the Shanghai outbreak, many diplomatic missions have also issued guidelines for their staff. The United States has urged its non-essential staff at the Shanghai consulate to leave the city. The Indian consulate in Shanghai was also announced inaccessible in person on Thursday. The statement issued say that the consulate will not be in position to provide consular services in person, but will remain operational in remote mode. Well, for more insight on this story, journalist Peter.
Yeah, it really is that bad over there. Like they're like, I honestly don't know how those people were dealing with it over there. Like there's videos everywhere, there's videos all over the internet highlighting about this. Oop, I spelt that wrong. I'm trying to find some of the. Oh yeah, here's this one of the residents screaming
Let's now get
from their windows, protesting. I think they were protesting the COVID lockdowns, because of how extreme they are.
to the latest from China. The COVID-19 outbreak in the city of Shanghai, the financial capital, has now reported more than 22,000 new cases in 24 hours. And China has put the city under a strict lockdown under its zero COVID tolerance policy. Horrifying videos have emerged from Shanghai. They've been making the rounds on social media as well. Residents can be heard screaming from their windows.
Like if you could really hear it, you can hear people screaming. Like just how it sounds. Like that's eerie. That's extremely eerie.
Under the strict policy, residents are not allowed to leave their homes even for food.
Again, viewer discretion advised, because this is this is some dystopian shit. Excuse my French, but it is. Call it for what it is. I would not be okay with this if they tried to pull some stuff like this here. I'd probably be protesting in the streets as well, because that's bullshit. You're not going to help people. How you expect, if you're not going to help people, how the hell do you expect them to live? How do you expect people to live their lives and not come after you? Like this is bad.
From one of the biggest residential compounds in the city. A video circulating on social media shows people yelling from their windows after being confined to their homes for almost a week. And amid all the chaos, the United States has asked all its non-emergency consulate staff and their family members to leave.
Okay, just hold on. Let me just take the captions off. China slams U.S. for political manipulation. No. Okay, first off, fuck all the way off. We didn't have shit to do with what you did. The United States, the West, no other country did this to China. The CCP did this to China. This is on you. You did this. There's no political manipulation here. You made your bid. Lie in it. Don't get pissed at us because you fucked up.
Shanghai, and this order has irked the Foreign Ministry of China, which has once again bashed America for quote-unquote smearing China.
Fucking spare me. Honestly, spare me. I don't want to hear any kind of crap from the CCP about how, or what did she say?
Has once again bashed America for quote-unquote smearing China.
This ain't smearing China. This is what you're doing, you fucking idiot. I mean, this isn't smearing China. Like, all we're doing, all the people are doing is just showing, hey, this is just the reality. This is a reflection of the reality of what's going on here. So to try to come out and say that, so for China or the CCP to come out and say that this is bashing them, no. The United States is going to protect its own. That's what they're going to do. It ain't got it don't have jack shit to do with what. It ain't got jack shit to what with what with political manipulation or trying to bash China without reason. If there's a good reason for bashing China, I would say this zero COVID policy and how they're treating their citizens is a pretty damn good way of doing it. They're not above criticism. I don't give a damn if they don't like it or not. The people of China, I don't have a problem with. The government, yeah, I kind of do. Especially with actions like this. If any government did this, I would take issue with it. Even our own.
We express strong dissatisfaction and firm opposition to the US politicizing and instrumentalizing the issue of personnel evacuation. We have lost stern representations with the US side. The US should immediately stop criticizing China's epidemic prevention policy, stop using the epidemic to engage in political manipulation, and stop smearing.
Okay, fuck you. We're not. Okay, fuck you. No one in the United States is gonna listen to this crap. China is in no position to dictate. And yes, I say this as an American, which is extremely rich. China is in no position to try to tell the United States to stop criticizing them. When I last checked, we do have the First Amendment still, or what's left of it. And we are free to criticize as we please. You don't have to like the criticism, but you're going to get criticism, especially for this. You think we're the only country that's going to criticize you? I can almost guarantee you, my friend, Mr. Zhao Lijian, the foreign minister of China, there is absolutely no way that Americans or any other nation in the world is going to stop criticizing the CCP, especially if they're taking actions like this. That wolf warrior bullshit is not going to work, and it sure as hell is not going to work with me. You might get away with that with some other nations because you have manipulated your way into taking over their ports, especially in Africa. Did you want to tell people about that shit? I'll bring that up in another video or a live stream. But yeah, they did that too. So spare us, sit your ass down before you put yourself in a position where you can't get out of. And number two, again, these actions are on you. We just showing what you're doing. If people to choose to criticize you for it, hey, whatever. If they agree with you on it, fine, whatever. But don't try to sit up here and come at us and say, hey, don't criticize us for this shit. Yeah, we had a bad policy, and it didn't go very well because, the president that we had at the time. But one can walk and chew gum at the same time. And you shouldn't act like trying to point the finger at us is not going to deflect from what you've done. I'm at least aware of how badly it is here. Can you have the balls to actually say the same?
Here in China.
But it is not just the number of infections that China has to worry about as of now. The city is now facing an acute shortage of food supplies. The government provided food kits, which seemed to be successful in China's first zero-COVID policy. But now, China faces empty supermarket shelves, inadequate delivery of food kits, and overwhelmed commercial services. And one of the reasons for this crisis may be the inconsistent COVID action plans, as rapidly changing strategies would not help delivery services and shops plan in advance. Secondly, well-to-do citizens have started to hoard the food supplies in order to save themselves from hunger. And finally, the desire to keep the city isolated has affected truck services. Drivers are being forced to undergo 2-week quarantines and are demanding a hike in their salary or even refuse to drive down to Shanghai, which has now broken the crucial supply chain.
So now we got truck drivers that don't want to go down there because of how strict these rulings are. Like, if you have to make a delivery and you got to go into Shanghai and you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, that's not a trip worth taking. It really isn't. That ain't a trip worth taking. I wouldn't take that trip. Would you take that trip? Have to get there, wait 2 weeks before you can go anywhere else, and then you got to figure out exactly how to get there, what you got to do to get it unloaded, and who knows? Again, shit show is what this is, and China can't deny that. I got one more video I want to show you. And this is one of the reasons why I start telling people to just question the information that they're given, especially the information that I'm giving, because I may get it wrong, and I would prefer that if I do get it wrong, that somebody get it in put me in the right direction to what the correct information is, and then have a discussion on it if one warrants. All right, here we go. This one again. The content warning's already there, so I don't have to repeat myself. This one is from News.com. I guess this is Australian News Network. I don't know. I guess Australian News Network. What the heck are they doing? Oh yeah, I just think I saw this too. Yeah, it's like you can't expect people to not revolt in if you don't feed people and you really kind of make them desperate with nothing to lose, do you really expect them not to fight back? Again, not thinking. And like, people are just now they're just pushing past the barrier. Like, this is ridiculous. Hey, like, people need food supplies. People gotta eat. Okay, before I start this video, I just want to give a big shout out to this guy for for giving the absolute what for to whoever he was talking to on the phone because this guy was pissed and justifiably so. So hold on, I'm gonna rewind it back and I'm gonna let this play. I'm not gonna say nothing because this is good right here. Shanghai city government, are they human? You are starving people to death. Yeah. And I guarantee there's going to be a lot of more people like him if the CCP wants to continue, messing around and finding out. They probably wasn't expecting their people to come back against him. I guarantee you their approval rating is starting to tank right about now. And it would be a real shame if somehow, some way, their people kind of figured out exactly what they were doing as far as their zero COVID policy and what they are actually planning to do. It kind of wouldn't be healthy for them if they got anything. And somebody's calling me again. Okay. I'm sorry. You guys are going to have to give me a moment. I got to take this. All right, sorry about all that. I had to take that. That was an important phone call. Anyway, I'm gonna let this video continue to play. Like trying to run and like trying to have a city on lockdown indefinitely. That's yeah. I don't. No one. They're not gonna accept that. If there's no end date or projected end date, then if there was a projected end date, I would say okay, that's one thing. But it's indefinite. They haven't said when they're gonna end this thing. And COVID's gonna be around with us for however long. And there's gonna be times where the count spikes. So is this gonna be a consistent thing with them? Probably. And it's gonna and if it is, they're gonna probably have a full-scale revolution on their hands. Because this is not gonna go well. I mean, not gonna go well over with their citizens. How do you get, yeah. Just saying, like, if they tried, if something like this was tried in the United States by a U.S. president, they would get so much shit. I mean, a lot. They would take a lot of heat for something like this. Not to mention, I think Congress would probably turn against them. The courts, the media, people would be like, "What the hell are you doing? This ain't how to do this." Like, I get wanting to reduce COVID deaths and cases, but to the point of you trapping people in their own homes, not worth it. What the hell? Oh my God! They're beating the hell. And they're chasing him and trying to kick his ass. What the hell? Granted, that's not much different than what's going on here. It's just only in our case it's not related to COVID because we're not doing crazy shit like this. But I mean, in other cases, yeah. Like, I don't blame the guy for running. Like, you're trying to kick my ass and trying to hurt and harm, and that's ridiculous. Mass daily testing is mandatory. Mandatory. For God's sakes, that's dystopian, and there were people and there's pundits on the right complaining about how Biden's mandate of vaccine or test is too far. Shut the fuck up. No, it wasn't. That was probably as fair as I think. I think that was fair. If he said you have to test or get the vaccine no matter what, then yeah, I would say no, don't do that. Don't do that. Because for religious reasons and health reasons, people won't or can't take the vaccine. And they're entitled to that. Just don't abuse it. But the religious part of it, the medical part, is fine. Religious part, don't abuse it. And I imagine there'll be probably some people that will, just to get out of taking the vaccine. Like, I myself am vaccinated. I wouldn't force you to take the vaccine. I would say I recommend it. I suggest it. Say, hey, maybe consider this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's whatever you want to do. I just ask you to be safe. Yeah. This right here, I couldn't say a whole lot about because the United States did the exact same shit with the children at the southern border, separating their parents from, separating their families, which hasn't gone well, and they're doing the same thing here. Like, is China just copying us? Like, is the Communist Party just copying us? Like, it just feels weird. It just feels weird to really think about because they're doing this. It's like whatever we do, then they do it. Like, are they copying from us and trying to make it like it's? I don't get it. What are they like? What are they doing? Well, if wait a minute now, if their vaccination rate is at nearly at 90%, why are they even going through this? Your citizens are protected. What are you doing now? Unless that vaccine that's been put out, I think it was what was the Chinese vaccine? I think it was Sinovac. Was that the Chinese? Yeah, that was the Chinese vaccine. Sinovac Biotech. Yeah, they're a Chinese biopharmaceutical company. I think there were I think it was said that theirs wasn't as effective as some of the other ones. I gotta look into that. But yeah, it doesn't make sense for them to keep a it doesn't make sense to keep a policy like this when their vaccination is damn near 90%. Sorry, y'all. Mom walked in the room. Honestly, just drop the policy. You'll save yourself more trouble. But I mean, if you want to keep going that route, that's entirely up to you. But I mean, after this, it's kind of a lose-lose for the CCP because I guarantee the Chinese people are not going to forget this, and they're not going to want to go through this again. Yeah, it's bad over there. Like I know it's been bad here, but over there they're taking it to a whole other level that leaves so much to desire. All right, so it's close to 7:30. I think this is a good stop point. It's an hour. It's been about an hour and a half. Granted, I didn't get anybody to watch this, but I'll go through it and I'll post the recording of this later, or I might just just leave the live stream up and just tweak it a little bit. But yeah, if you liked what I did here, just be sure to like, share, subscribe. I want to do this because I want to start conversations that that some people might be afraid to have or not sure how to talk about, and maybe don't have a perspective on something, and maybe they want to form something or change a perspective. In the process, I want to be able to learn as much, and my views may change over time, or I may learn something new that might actually work better. And that's what I want to do here. And that's what I want to do here. And part of that is in doing so, it's gonna take a lot of work, and everything. I'm not particularly too worried about it right now. I do just want to get the word out and start spreading, because I do have a Patreon set up, and there are some things I would like to offer people who do sign up for it. And the link to the Patreon is in the description. And if you want to, you feel free to go take a look at it. If anything, if it stands out to you and you see some stuff that you like, I haven't posted a whole lot of stuff on there yet, but I do have a lot of content I have to go through, so it will be pretty frequent for a little bit. But if you like what you see, consider becoming a patron. I will be very, very grateful, because it would help me grow the channel and push me, and really help me make better content. But I'm gonna end this. But like I said, I'm gonna end this live stream here. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, like me on Facebook, subscribe on Twitter, and like on Facebook, follow on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. And if you subscribe on YouTube, make sure to click the bells to get the notifications, because YouTube is kind of notorious for not, sending notifications to people who are subscribed to channels. And with how they've changed their algorithms, this live stream will probably get pushed way down in the algorithm just because of how I talked about it. So, like I said, be sure to subscribe and click that little bell down there so that you get updates on any new videos and any announcements that I may have. with that being said, you guys take care. I will see you another time. And I'm going to go ahead and finish my food because I'm hungry and I need to eat. So, I will see you next time.